Hello everybody, my name is Benji, and welcome back to Satisfactory. Now, I know that I did not have a recap video out last week, sorry about that. Lots of conference things going on, and then also lots of Thanksgiving things going on, and Factorio things going on. So yeah, no, a lot happened in the past two streams, which we're going to try to be recapping here. And it all starts with this big platform. This is our new advanced aluminum processing facility, which we set up the trains and stuff for in between, and I think I talked about that a little bit, I believe. If not, then oops. But yeah, we have our gas coming in, our nitrogen gas. I'll go on ahead and get rid of that. We have our nitrogen gas coming in. We have our oil products coming in, our plastic and our rubber. We have our aluminum coming in, all of our lovely, lovely aluminum ingots. And then we have all of our other resources. There's sulfur way off in the distance, iron right here, coal right there, a whole bunch of copper over that way, also some limestone over that way, and then our caterium and our quartz coming from over there. All of it is actually, like, supported, so I actually took the time to beautify at least that part of things. I'll take the time to beautify the rest of this later.tm when I feel like it. But the quartz gets made into the pure quartz crystal, because we need a lot of those. The caterium gets turned into pure caterium ingots, again, because we need a lot of those. And it's, you know, a little weird in terms of the recipe. Iron gets smelted into iron, which gets made into steel, and then the rest of the iron happens. All of the copper gets smelted into copper ingots. All of the limestone gets turned into concrete. And then we have an absolute mess over here of stuff coming on the wall, coming not on the wall. We've got water coming from down underneath of the platform here, because that's like one of the main features of this factory is all the trains go underneath and you can look up into the factory. I really like that design. I like that design a ton. Looks great in my opinion. Gonna be weird to like try to support it and anchor it and whatnot, but that's fine. So all the water comes up. There's a water pipe for like the actual bus and then also the quartz. And then there's the water pipes for the caterium because it needs a lot of water. And then we have our bus up here. So all of these come up around the outside here, and we have our main bus, kind of like Factorio, except in Satisfactory instead. First things first, we make batteries using the classic battery alternate recipe. So it's literally just plastic, sulfur, copper wire, and alclad aluminum sheets. Make our classic batteries. Those go into storage, dimensional depot, and off to drones. We'll get to that later. And then we have our fused modular frames. So we've got steel pipes. That's all for other stuff. So we've got steel pipes, iron plates, screws, reinforced iron plates, steeled modular frames, encased industrial pipe alternate recipe, and then heavy encased frame alternate recipe. And then we also have our alclad aluminum casing alternate recipe to make our fused modular frames, which is Sommer slooped to get us a little bit more. Same thing, storage, depot, drone. Then, over here, we've got radio control units. And these boys are a doozy. We've got copper sheets for circuit boards, wire for cable, and then caterium for quick wire. Quick wire, cable, and circuit boards come together to make an alternate recipe, not alternate recipe, sorry, no, default recipe high-speed connectors, as well as the alternate heatsink for the rubber and aluminum casings. Heatsinks, ports, and high-speed connectors come together to make the alternate radio connection unit for the radio control unit. Same thing, storage, depot, drone. Then over here, we have ourselves cooling systems. So we've got alclad aluminum casings, we've got rubber to make heat sinks, and then heat sinks, rubber, water, and nitrogen gas make cooling systems. Half of those go storage depot drone, half of them go to supercomputers, which is the alternate OC supercomputer recipe for cooling systems and radio control units. Radio control units are identical. I don't know why this one's not keeping up. It should be perfect splitting, so probably some floating point issues happening there. But yeah, all of this is basically just mirrored what happened over here. It's identical recipes, so it just kind of exists. And then, yeah, supercomputers go storage, depot, drone. Then the last thing is turbo motors, which you can see is the biggest thing that's happening here. Basically, all of this is for cooling systems, and then some of this is for motors. So, yeah, we've got steel pipes, deuterium, wire, for rotors and stators, and then that goes to motors, then rubber, then cooling systems we've seen before. It's just heat sinks, rubber, water, gas. But then some of those heat sinks go over here to the radio control unit, which is Quartz high-speed connectors, and then the high-speed connectors do their thing as well. And then that gets us our turbo motors, which are Sommerslooped, so that we get more turbo motors per minute. And then those all go into drones, and most of the drones, I guess, are out and about right now. Makes sense. They're like delivering things, which is fine. So that's this entire factory, and that was one entire stream. That was the first stream. Also setting up some of this train infrastructure that goes around and does all the things. Here's a drone, the turbo motor drone. So yeah, turbo motor drone gets turbo motors from here, takes them back to the main base, and then does all the cool stuff from there. So that was one entire stream. Then, in the next stream, that requires me to go home. So I will go home, and I will see you when we're there. Apologies already for the little bit of a music gap that's gonna happen. So yeah, I'll see you in a second. So with all of that done in the first stream, that was part 15, now we get into the stuff that happened during part 16, which essentially is just a ton of the Phase 4 space elevator parts, the completion of Phase 4, the start of Phase 5, and the beginning of the upgrade from Red Heaven to Rocket Heaven, which you can see off in the distance over there. So we're going to get to that here in just a second. But the first thing that we did was set up all of the space elevator parts. So we extended our horizontal bus, which I hate. I love the vertical bus a lot more. It's easier to pull things off of. So we'll be using the vertical bus in the subsequent bases that end up happening here. And then we have ourselves some quick wire, some pipes for stators, and AI limiters using the plastic AI limiter alternate recipe. That goes into here to make electromagnetic control rods, bin, depot, and magnetic field generators, which use versatile frameworks and electromagnetic control rods, which are made down here. The versatile frameworks were made a long time ago, back in like part, I don't know, 6 maybe even more like long ago than that. And then the supercomputers get brought in and combined with the adaptive control units to make assembly director systems. And those automated control units are a temporary setup down here, and all of this is going to get torn out very shortly. Yeah, actually, probably immediately after recording this, in all honesty. Then the modular engines, don't worry about the radiation, we're fine. The modular engines, turbo motors, cooling systems, and fused modular frames come together to make thermal propulsion rockets. So, drone, and modular engines were actually done right here are the modular engines. There's the ECUs, there's the modular engines. So plastic, motors, and smart plating. Smart plating was done forever ago. That was like one of the first things that we did on the second floor. Way back at the start when we transitioned this base. And then batteries get brought in, which I'll explain in a moment. So that takes care of 3 of 4 out of the, well, 3 out of 4 of the Phase 4 space elevator parts. The last one is nuclear pasta, which means we get to use the loops. So we've got fused modular frames, radio control units coming in and making the pressure conversion cubes. And then the pressure conversion cubes and copper powder coming together to make nuclear pasta, which is Sommerslooped, because we need 1,000 of it for Phase 5. So this is just going to keep running. So the copper powder, it's only 100 per minute, but that is 600 per minute copper. It is a 1 to 6 ratio, which is, or rather, I guess a 1 to 6 ratio, which is rough. 5 to 30, 1 to 6, same difference. So 600 per minute copper ingots are happening here. This is technically a little bit more than that, but the mine down there, I upgraded to a tier 3 miner and then just overclocked it fully to 600 per minute. That comes up on a Mark 5 belt right there. Goes into these 3 smelting columns, and then they go into these 2 constructors to make the copper powder. And then the copper powder goes in and does that. And then the final thing that we did before we called it a day was nukes. So we went all the way up. You can see the scaffolding. We went the entirety of the way up to the tallest mountain in the game. Gathered, I think it's 300 per minute in a fully overclocked Mark III miner up there of uranium. Smacked it in a drone. Put batteries into the drone so that it goes and gets uranium. Then we have quick wire, electromagnetic control rods? No, AI limiters. We're using the infused uranium cell alternate recipe, so we don't have to deal with sulfuric acid and byproducts and like all the stuff. I'll show that really quickly, because this recipe sucks, because it gives sulfuric acid as a byproduct of this. And that's just not fun. We don't like dealing with that if we don't have to. This is also just cheaper at the end of the day. It's more like quartz and caterium and stuff, but like who cares? That's not that bad. And then that combines with the AI limiters, smokeless powder, and nobelisks, which are made on the bottom floor to make nuke nobelisks. I don't know why that splitter is there. But to make nuke nobelisks, and then the nuke nobelisks go into here. Apparently I have none in my inventory at the moment, so I just grab a stack of nuke nobelisks, and then grab the nuke nobelisk, toss it on top of the platform, because there's no such thing as building damage in this game, and then boom. We have nukes. So, nukes are a thing. They exist. They're great. They do lots of damage, and they leave behind an irradiated area, which is kind of cool and fun. And that's neat. So, yeah, that's like a whole thing. Then the space elevator parts got shot up. Go watch the stream if you want to see, like, the reaction and everything to that. But that unlocks Tier 9. So before I go over to Rocket Heaven, let's take a look at Tier 9. We have a couple of parts that need to get made in Tier 9 before we start actually going in on the space elevator parts, which are the biochemical sculptor, the artificial intelligence expansion server, and the ballistic warp drive. Those are the 3 new Phase 5 space elevator parts. And we're going to set up dedicated factories for those. But the things that we need to actually have production for are the fixite ingots, the fixite trigons, which just use fixite ingots. Fixite ingots use SAM, if I remember correctly, reanimated SAM, and an ingot of our choice, which we'll figure out at a later date. Diamonds, which are just coal, and time crystals, which are just diamonds. Then, under quantum encoding, we have the dark matter crystal, the superposition oscillator, and the neural quantum processor, which are going to be the 3 things that we need to make for, like, building things. And then we have the singularity cell. Maybe be able to do the singularity cell. This guy's expensive, so we'll have to see if that's a possibility at all. And that will have to be something that we check the possibility of after we do the superposition oscillators, because yeah, he costs superposition oscillators, which is fun. Technically, I could just unlock it and then buy it, which I might do. Just unlock it and then buy superposition oscillators, and then just check the costs. But all of this stuff is going to be made in the green fields, all the way down here. We already have a train line going, let's see, it like meets up here, and then goes this way, and then down this way, and it's going to wrap around the entirety of the biome. So we can put a big old factory just smack in the middle of the biome. There's like a bunch of iron over here, bunch of iron over here, bunch of copper here, more copper like here, a whole bunch of copper down here. There's coal here, there's caterium here, there's SAM, there's limestone all over the place. I don't even know exactly where it is. There's like 2 here. There's water. There's quartz over here. There's sulfur over here. And that's really it. There's nitrogen up here that we can grab if we need to, but there's also just these 2, which are fine for now. .tm. And that's really it, other than like oil products. And if we need more oil products, we have more oil that we can do here. We can do another facility, kind of like we did up here for the plastic and rubber hauler 1, and just have a plastic rubber hauler 2 for a new location. Bring in the plastic and rubber as required here, and just make all of the new stuff as we go. Yeah, I don't really know entirely what to expect from it all, but that's the fun of it, and we're going to be planning it all on stream, which is going to be equally as fun. And then we're also going to be looking for alternate recipes. So there are a ton of drop pods that are left in this unexplored part of the map, and also in the Red Forest. So there's a ton of hard drives for us to go and grab, because we don't have those recipes yet. Tier 9 stuff. And I am out of hard drives. I have scanned every single one, and accepted every single recipe. So, like, if I look in here at my hard drives, we are empty. We're empty on hard drives. So, we're gonna need to go get some more of those. But that's enough about that. Let's go talk about Orange Heaven, Red Heaven, Rocket Heaven, whatever the heck it is now. It's Rocket Heaven. But let's go talk about Rocket Heaven. Basically, Red Heaven was a means to an end. Red Heaven was 40,000 megawatts of power that we wanted to have so that we could use that 40,000 megawatts of power to get into tier 7 and 8, fully automate all of the advanced aluminum stuff like turbo motors and stuff like that. But now that we're going to be moving into tier 9, the means to an end is no longer sufficient. And we can upgrade Red Heaven using barely any input materials whatsoever, and get triple the amount of power out of the system that we are currently capable of producing. So, Red Heaven is now obsolete. You can see I've already deactivated 1 tier of the towers. 2 tiers, actually. Should be 2 tiers. Yes, I thought I disconnected another tier. I did, it's just glitched. And have begun activating the rocket fuel. So all of this was just a means to an end, and we have an additional block here now that we can use for additional production of rocket fuel. So we've got our compacted coal, our heavy oil residue, our sinking of the polymer resin byproduct, our fuel from the water and the heavy oil residue in the blenders, then our turbo fuel in each of these stacks. And then with our turbo fuel, the turbo fuel ends up getting put into these little bins here. And prior, they were all going off to the turbo motors, or to the turbo fuel processing here. But now they are no longer sent off to the turbo fuel processing. They are being allowed to back up enough until I can connect them in like this pipeline do? There we go. Don't want the clean pipelines. We want the regular pipelines. And that gives us turbo fuel coming down the line here in all of these pipes, and we're doing this in tiers as well, just so that our production doesn't sag too much. But you can see we're at 60,000 megawatts, almost 70,000 megawatts, and that's without 2 of these tiers running, because 1 of these is worth 3 of these, which is cool. It's a direct tripling of the process. So the turbo fuel combines in these blenders with nitric acid in order to make rocket fuel with a byproduct of compacted coal. Now, if I were clever and not lazy, I would route that compacted coal with priority input into the old compacted coal. That way we're not using as much sulfur coming into the system. But I really am lazy and I didn't feel like figuring all of that out. So it just gets put into a sink, gets me tickets. We need tickets anyway, so it's fine. The nitric acid is the only thing that's new here. It's literally just turbo fuel, which we're already making, and then nitric acid, which is the new thing. And nitric acid is just nitrogen gas, water, and iron plates. So along this train here, you can see the iron getting produced over there. It's literally 120 iron per minute and 800 nitrogen gas, which is nothing. Chump change. Complete chump change. I could overclock that nitrogen gas node. It's currently making 840 per minute. I could overclock it to 250%, so 840 times 2.5. I could overclock it to 2100 nitrogen gas and have more nitrogen gas for more projects. But I don't need to do that, so I'm not doing that. Then the nitric acid comes into here. It's literally just 8 blenders, and they're all underclocked as well. They're at 83.3%. These are all overclocked at 125% to fit on this platform here. And then the actual rocket fuel, first of all, it's a gas, so you don't need to worry about like fluid mechanics or anything like that. It just goes up. No pumps, no nothing is required. It just goes up. It's great. And you get yourself your rocket fuel in these big old tanks. I've got these big old tanks because liquids and fluids, I say liquids, this is a gas, but fluids like to be buffered. And then this goes onto each of these floors. Each of these floors is 48 fully overclocked fuel generators. So yeah, each of these is 200% overclocked fuel generators, and that each floor is 48. So lots and lots of power. Literally, it is 1 floor of this is worth 3 floors of this, which is why at the end of the day, all 4 of these combined were making 40,000 megawatts of power, versus all 4 of these combined, once we actually get them all, gets us to 120,000 megawatts of power, which I'm assuming is enough to run the entirety of the base for the entirety of the game. And you can see our kind of like Roman pillar design going on here. Just having all these pillars all over the place is going to be nice, and we are going to follow that for this big platform here, minus a little bit of like the stuff for the control room stuff. I'll figure out some ways to make that look a little bit better over there, and maybe make the alien power augmenters somewhat more of like a central piece of the design over here instead. But we'll figure that out later. But you can see the rocket fuel coming in. It's a little bit of a weird ratio. Last thing I'll say before I end, because we're getting a bit long here. The rocket fuel is 300 per minute in each of these pipes. It's a Mark II pipe just for like floating point number considerations. But then each of these pipes is 500 because it's a 6 to 10. So you get more rocket fuel than turbo fuel. And these guys burn rocket fuel slower than they burn turbo fuel. Like, rocket fuel, it's not quite half the rate, it's almost half the rate, which is nice. So that's pretty good. That's definitely. Um, and that just lends itself very, very nicely to what we need to have happening. That whole 1 to 3 ratio. And then if we go check over here at our actual tanks for this brand new floor that I just built, we're already at 1,000 on this guy, 300, almost 400 on that guy, and 100 on that guy. So my general rule of thumb is I let that tank fully fill before I turn it into rocket fuel, just so that everything, the entire stages here, buffer the whole way back. And then I let this final tank get to 1,000, since it fills that one with priority, then this one is the final priority, and gets us 1,000 fuel in that one before I crank open all of these valves to their full flow rate, starting back to front, and just turn on the entire thing. So we're currently at 70,000, give or take. This is 625 times 48. We're going to be getting an additional 30,000, so we will easily break 100k using this, thanks to the alien power augmenter for the power boost. And if I end up placing a second one of those guys, then we're going to be in even better shape. But yeah, I have rambled on long enough. That's what happens when I skip a week for the recap. So that is going to be it for today. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. But without further ado, adios, sayonara, au revoir, hasta la vista, das farania, evidizien, ciao, and goodbye. Please have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Get some sleep if you need to. Don't forget to be hydrated. This video is in the bag, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, y'all.